Welcome to the Inspiration North podcast, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, the most important skill you can learn is how to keep someone alive, with Helena Sansum and Ian Blackburn. We talk about starting a business to have the flexibility to do what you want, how you should always know where your nearest defibrillator is, and how jelly babies fix everything.
Ian achieved a law degree before honing his skills as an expert trainer in a variety of high-profile management training and development roles. Frustrated by the lack of quality first aid training available, in 2012 Ian embarked upon a mission to create life-saving training, the award-winning first aid and health and safety organisation with a difference. Helena achieved a degree in psychology before a successful career within the public sector outsourcing industry as an operations manager, delivering high-profile government contracts. Helena is the operations manager for life-saving training and ensures that their service delivery is exceptional and consistent. At Life-Saving Training, they are passionate about empowering people to save lives through their well-designed, environment-specific first aid and pre-hospital care training. They're transforming the way people learn first aid.
So we've got, it's a bit of an Inspiration North first, isn't it, Michelle? Mm-hmm. It's the first time we've got two guests at the same time. It's not that we're trying to improve productivity or anything, is it? But so we, of course, met at networking, and then this crazy idea of a podcast came together. How about you guys? How sort of have you met and all of a sudden you've got a business? What was the starting point?
Well, I wouldn't say it was all of a sudden that we had a business, because we met probably, being tested now, 12 years ago, 13 years ago?
Somewhere around there.
I think so, yeah. And we worked together for several years. That is where we met at work. And it must have been 6 years ago that we started the business now. Clearly should know my numbers a little bit better, but
Was Ian working as a waitress in a cocktail bar?
I thought I recognised you from somewhere.
So we worked in a service that was a government contract delivering information and advice and guidance to 13 to 19-year-olds. So it was all about helping others, being supportive, but also delivering government contracts and being professional at all times, being accountable, and being involved in recruitment and specifically training. And Ian here used to get pimped out for training quite a lot of the time. And, you know, we thought that we've got something here in terms of understanding training.
Oh, I was like, we've got something here in Ian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We can make money out of this one.
Yeah, we could totally pimp him out. But crucially, when we also had external trainers coming in to train staff, it became apparent that not everyone does it well. So, Ian, over to you.
What were you training?
So
Who were you training? What? Humans?
Humans, mainly. So we were training all sorts of things. We were training people who would be giving advice to 13 to 19-year-olds on the telephone on a whole range of different things.
Okay.
So we're thinking about kind of mental health. They were giving advice on careers, pretty much anything you could think about that would potentially go wrong with a 13 to 19-year-old.
Most things then.
Most things, yes, definitely. So it was quite varied, and trying to keep people engaged with that kind of training. Sometimes these people had not come from that kind of background, so actually taking them from a very low level to being able to sort of manage quite traumatic calls sometimes across a range of media, shall we say. Well, yeah, we trained them on all sorts of things.
But it was about designing the training, structuring it, and making, you know, the information that people needed to give accessible.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key moments was when external trainers came in and we thought, oh, hang on a minute. there's something going wrong here. And really, I mean, some people kind of always ask, like, well, are you from medical backgrounds? Like, why first aid? Is that something that you've done in the past? But really, that's just been a personal interest.
Being a professional trainer and spending a lot of time training, it was very apparent that actually there was a big difference in the quality of training that was available for all sorts of things. Now, for me personally, one of the most important kinds of training that could ever possibly exist is the kind of training that actually keeps people alive if something goes wrong and they need some assistance. From my experience, it seems that actually, as Helena quite correctly said, there's quite a huge variety in the ability of trainers to actually put across some really key, simple skills. And so we thought, you know what, we want to make a difference in the world. We really think that this is a niche area where people could be doing better. Let's just go for it. Let's just see what happens. What's the worst that's going to happen? Okay, we might have to pack this in and get a job one day and work for somebody else once again. So be it. So we went for it. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Have you ever heard that saying before?
No, never. So what was it about working for yourself? So you're quite happily in jobs. Why did you start?
Well, for the most part, we were happy in our jobs and made loads of brilliant contacts, got loads of great experience into, like, you're running government contracts, that's high profile stuff. But there was always that kind of notion of there's something more out there, and to have that flexibility to just, you know, do what you want when you want, hopefully eventually, you know, sometimes building that business, you're not always in that position to just do what you want when you want, because you're building and you're working really hard. But the idea is that, you know, you can be running your business from a beach somewhere in Thailand. I mean, that's the ultimate sort of
The dream, isn't it?
the dream. Yeah, it's a bit cheesy, but why not?
So it's
Life's for living.
Yeah, so it's more flexibility and doing that kind of autonomy, doing what you want to do.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with that.
So before you left your employment, did you have to obviously train up before you jumped into self-employment, or you know, what did you do? How did you go about that?
Yeah, so for me, it was something I was really keen on, kind of being proficient at training first aid. But I actually pretty much, although I had quite a bit of experience in sort of hands-on first aid from just kind of, I don't know, being in the right or wrong places at the right or wrong times, whichever way you look at it, I didn't really have any paperwork that would kind of back that up. So actually, once I'd left employment, I actually started from scratch and kind of went, right, okay, Monday morning, 9 a.m, sat in the back bedroom, looked at my laptop and thought, right, how do you start a business then? Which possibly isn't the best way to do it, it turns out, but well, actually it's worked out okay, I guess.
I suppose what that does is it's a bit more of a sense of urgency, isn't it? Instead of, you could take the sensible option, well, that's a bit unfair perhaps, but you could say, my goal is 12 months time, 6 months time, 3 months time, I'm going to have completed all these extra qualifications, I'll have registered my business, got my domains, my website's ready to roll, I'll start putting feelers out into the marketplace, and then we'll step into it. But I think when you do have an event which is just like, you know, screw this, let's just roll, that urgency, I think, puts a bit of pressure on, which that kind of deadline helps, doesn't it, to move things along.
Yeah. And I think that's something that it's become evident that that's kind of the way I prefer to work. And then kind of looking back, that's how I kind of passed exams at school. It's how I passed a degree in law. It wasn't through as much study as I potentially could have been doing throughout the time I was actually there. It was very much a case of night before, right, let's have a look at some of these books then.
Cramming.
Yeah.
Did you do the whole sleeping on the books underneath your pillow to make sure the words went into your brain by osmosis as well? Was that a thing?
No, but I really wish I'd tried that.
That's what I did.
That might have improved my grades.
So did you want it? So studying law, why did you choose that easy path?
Well, I kind of found it easy.
Really?
Well, I kind of when I did it, I chose my A levels by thinking, okay, so what am I interested in?
Yeah.
And what do I think I could be good at, and what might actually open some doors. But that kind of what might open some doors was very much a kind of the thing that I thought about the least out of those things. It was more kind of, well, what do I think I might actually enjoy, and what do I think I could be good at. And we kind of, I did all right in my A levels, and then thought, well, actually, out of all of the 4 subjects I've taken, law seems to be the easiest. So I thought I'd kind of have a go at that. That was it. It was 3 good years of drinking.
Yes, that was in one of the previous podcasts. I was drunk for the whole first year of university. Still got 2 on this, so it's fine.
Exactly, that's what matters.
So
That's 2-1, not 2 for 1.
buy one, get one
no.
free. in Baja Beach Club.
Baja, yes. I saw a post they're going to put some nice office development on
I
there.
heard that as well yesterday.
Interesting.
Yeah.
For anyone under the age of 35.
Yes.
That's what we're talking.
Imagine saying,
Not under the age of
my
30.
desk is where the bar used to be.
So you didn't fancy pursuing a career in the law, though, or did you?
I was kind of interested, but not really interested enough to kind of go beyond the degree. So I worked out it was going to cost me something like 20 grand to actually do the next year. And then I would be so by the time you thought about living costs as well as your tuition fees and buying books and beer and stuff, I guess. But then I'd be in the privileged position of being able to earn just under about £11,000 a year for the next few years. And then I could work 24 hours a day for quite a long time. And then probably when I was about 40, I might start reaping some of those rewards. Decided that wasn't for me. And I figured that, I can try a few other things and see what I want to do. I wanted to travel a little bit and that kind of thing. Always with the backup of, well, I can kind of go back to that if I really, really want to.
I did a random module at university of I did psychology degree, surprisingly enough, and we could do like a random extra module. So I ended up doing sort of business law. Oh, Jesus, it was painful. Didn't do very well on that module, but yes, I was like, I was always. The law library was pretty cool though, but apart from that, it's like, I'm hanging around the law library. But yeah, that was pretty much the only benefit I got out of it.
Right.
It's just hilarious because I ended up in HR and knowing quite a lot about employment law at the end of it. So didn't learn any of that stuff at university though.
Well, one of my favourite sort of modules that I did was law and medicine, because I've always kind of been interested in medicine. I've never really been bright enough to be a doctor. I certainly didn't choose the right GCSEs or A levels for that to ever be an option. And I don't regret that. I think owning a first aid business is definitely the way to go.
Being a doctor can, often mean many, many hours in hospital, which isn't necessarily, the lovely, lovely environment to work in. Whereas, first aid, it's pre-hospital care environment. It's actually quite interesting compared to that hospital environment where you've got lots of different fancy bits of equipment in front of you. It's first aid and pre-hospital care. It's all about quite often improvisation. What you're going to do before the emergency services arrive.
Yeah, you've got a big meaty problem to solve.
Could be.
Good choice of words.
That's the thing, and with our voluntary work in mountain rescue, I think that's why we really enjoy that aspect. Where I certainly not take anything away here from doctors, but I think if you've got a problem to fix in a nice sterile environment with everything that you need just over there and a team of people around, I think that's one thing, and that's amazing in itself. But trying to kind of improvise and hack something together on the side of a mountain when it's snowing in the middle of the night, that to me is much more interesting.
It's that excitement, isn't it, as well?
It is.
It's a real adrenaline rush being with your teammates, all kind of pulling together and actually helping someone who wouldn't receive help otherwise, because sometimes the helicopters can't fly to them because of the weather. The ambulance certainly can't drive up there, so there's no one else to help them but mountain rescue teams. So it's a great feeling to work together with your teammates.
How long have you been doing that voluntary work for Mountain Rescue?
So it's been about 3 years now. Yeah, but yeah, I can't remember exactly when it was, but yeah. about 3 years now. Yeah.
Because the training's 12 months,
Mm-hmm.
so by the time you're not on the call-out list for the first year,
Yep.
but you're getting involved, you're learning the skills, and so we were quite privileged really, because we, from our backgrounds with the first aid and advanced first aid and things that we do, we could actually kind of help support other team members up their game in the pre-hospital environment. So, but yeah, all good stuff.
I always remember what is it? It's not a figure, but when there's a transition from definitely summer to sort of more autumnal, winter type changes of weather, and how many people go up mountains wearing flip-flops and things like this, and you think, what are people thinking? It's like inevitably you're going to slip and break your ankle or something if you're going up in some Crocs or some flip-flops. But
To be fair, even in the best equipment, accidents can happen. So we just try not to judge anyone.
well, you still help these
We're
people,
there
obviously.
to
But
help.
Yes, it's like, it's December, it's snowing, and you've wandered up a big, huge mountain with your trainers on and no other equipment apart from your mobile phone.
Yeah, there, we're just going to leave you there.
just to teach you a lesson.
No.
No, but it's always that kind of the fast speed of change in conditions. I've always got this memory of climbing up. It would have been Helvellyn with my dad and a friend of his, and
Classic.
and you sort of, it's lovely and sunny. It's like, wow, what a wonderful day it is. And I remember us having lunch, and you could almost drink the sandwiches. It was that wet. It was sort of couldn't see more than a metre in front of your face. We were just sort of huddled in this space, and then we get round the other side, and you're down into the valley, and it's glorious, blazing sunshine. Your jacket's off, and it just shows you how quickly something which, if you're not very experienced, let's face it, you can get very easily disorientated or slip, and it's such a great set of people that then in effect risking their lives as well to go and help others who've fallen into a circumstance that would be tragic otherwise, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. But no matter what we're talking about, nobody's born with all that experience. And I've been that person that's walked up a mountain in trainers before, kind of, because there's not a big sign at the bottom, and I'm pleased there isn't, that tells you that you need to have these things on. Been lost many a time. We had a bit of an epic in the Alps a few years ago, which worked out fine eventually. But people make these mistakes. Hopefully they only make them the once. But isn't it great that there's a service out there that's going to go and get them?
Now I remember doing Duke of Edinburgh, sort of 13, 14-year-olds. Go on, get yourself up a mountain, go and wander through the countryside on your own. We used to think it was brilliant because we used to smuggle, drink and cigarettes with us. But but yeah, we managed never to need to be saved, surprisingly enough. I was fairly good at map reading though. That was the only reason. But yeah, it is crackers that kids are allowed to do this.
But isn't it good though?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So
I
good.
loved it so much.
Everyone needs a bit of an epic in their lives, a bit of a fail from time to time to make you go, oops, won't do that again.
Yeah.
Like Alps, going up in the cable car and going, did someone buy lunch on the way here? And we're like, no, we didn't, but it's fine. It's only a 4-hour route. Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 8 hours.
Oops.
Ian's face down in the snow, passed out.
It's like -15 or something
Yeah.
in the middle of January.
Kendall mint cake.
Afraid not.
A banana
Afraid
and
not.
some chocolate.
Oh,
that
bless
was
you.
it.
That's how I have to get Oliver to walk. So if we have to do any walks anywhere, so we love doing Craster to Dunstanburgh and
Yeah.
back, which it's not horrific for an adult, but for 4-year-old was quite substantial a walk. But yeah, I used to have to make sure I had Haribo and chocolate, and just like every 100 meters or so, go on, here's some chocolate, go on, keep walking. So it's like
Jelly babies. Fixes everything.
just bribing kids to walk with chocolate. So yeah, that's what we used to do.
You can do exactly the same, it turns out, with adults as well.
Yeah.
I've had those on it was up in Wooler. So it was probably about 3 years ago. I'd done the Great North Bike Ride, which is 100 kilometres from Sea Houses to Tynemouth. And then I think it was a few weeks later, a mate of mine and I went up to Wooler. And he said, there's a race on. And he said it's 100 kilometres. And then I had a look at the British cycling, I forget what it is. It's like a chart. It shows you sort of 0 to 5 and how difficult it is. I took one look at that and I said, I'll come with you, but I'm going to do the 50 kilometres, not the 100. And that was the case. Halfway it was jelly babies. And I've never been up a slope like it to the point where my sort of calves are cramping out. And I got off and chatted with one of the girls who also had given up halfway up. So I made friends with them, took selfies at the top, and then off we were again after we'd had a few jelly babies. So I was back and had lasagna or whatever it was they'd cooked for us, and was feeling quite content. And then my mate got back looking like death, and he said, I wish I'd not done 100 kilometres. It was awful. But amazing what jelly babies can do.
Yeah.
Magic sugar.
Yeah.
1 teaspoon of sugar in each jelly baby. That's why.
Really?
That's why they taste so good.
Yep.
It's even better than Kindermunk cake then. Interesting. Good to know. Next time we wander up Helvellyn in our flip-flops. We're not going to do that, don't panic. We'll let you know if we do that though.
Yeah, we'll come and watch.
We'll send the helicopters round.
Yay! I've been in a helicopter.
Don't encourage them.
I know.
Okay, so you two are together, a couple. How is it running a business and staying friends as well as partners? How does that work?
Well, we used to work together, so we know what each other's like in a working environment, which helps.
Yep.
There are times that it's a bit testing and a bit challenging, and you just kind of want to go and probably strangle each other a little bit, but that's normal as well. And it's
Is it, just to clarify, is that normal? I don't know.
you know what, it is.
This is the first time we're hearing a lot of this.
But we're both quite pragmatic people. We're not like sort of, I don't know, what's the word, like just
We're normally quite chilled.
yeah, chill, laid back kind of people, and we just have normal conversations about work and try to keep work conversations to a bit more of like work time rather than it sort of eating into all of your evenings and weekends, because one of the reasons we set up the business is to have that flexibility and live that lifestyle, and we're all about work-life balance. It's not about just work as much as you possibly can and you'll try and live a bit of life if you can. It's all about actually working to enjoy yourself, because you get one shot at life, and if you just sort of hold away every night or every weekend, then what's the point? So along those lines, we don't spend all evening or all weekends talking about work or doing work. We're off out, we're up mountains, we're travelling around doing mountain rescue work, and having that balance. That's key. I think it's really, really important. I could bang on about it all night, but I won't.
I think that's really important. I think it sounds a bit morbid really, but we do spend a lot of time in what we do talking about death and people with life-changing injuries, and sometimes we get to see that as well. And I think for me that's ever present. That is something that if you're reminded of death every day, although it does sound morbid, kind of the positive I take from that is, well, actually it's going to happen to us all one day. Might as well have a good time whilst we're here. Try and make a positive difference. Try and get on with people who you like or like you. I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely.
Was it Marcus Aurelius that paid somebody to wander around after him saying that you're gonna die, to kind of keep him focused on that exact same thing?
How much did they get paid? I feel
don't
like
know.
I could do this.
It was in the olden days, so probably a jelly bean.
Oh, wow.
Bean, not a baby.
No, it wasn't babies invented. So we've heard a little bit about Ian's journey through university and A-levels. So what was your plan when you were sort of 14 and you had to decide what you were going to do for the rest of your life?
So back in school, I actually wanted to be a vet. Because I loved animals, and that seemed like a reasonable leap to make, and think, I'll dedicate all of those years of study towards being a vet. But as school years went on, it loomed on me that like the key science subjects that I needed for that weren't my strongest, and I was more interested in psychology and geography. So I went down those routes for A-level and then ended up doing a psychology degree as well. So, which absolutely loved. Really, really loved it. But
It's really weird. Yeah.
I chose it because I loved it. And I thought, surely, something will come from that. I'm all about trying to sort of make some plans and have some structure, but it wasn't about making kind of rigid plans and going, right, I'm definitely going to do this because I do this degree. It was like a bit of see what happens.
Yeah. It's a good foundation, isn't it? It's something humans useful. Yeah. Most jobs.
Yeah.
That's how she managed to train me, I think.
Train you.
The Jedi Master.
So you didn't want to go down the further psychology study, be a psychologist route?
Seriously thought about it, but after uni, I just needed to have a bit of a break. So I put my backpack on and went around the world for 12 months.
Marvellous.
And had a whale of a time. And had a bit of a revelation whilst I was away that I didn't have the headspace at that point to go back into further study. So I just wanted to kind of travel more, and thought, you're early 20s, you've got time for that kind of shit. So
Yeah.
Totally.
So I got back and picked up work and thought, I'll probably work for a bit, go off again, but ended up staying in the job. Met Ian, and the rest is history. Oops, did I say that history saying again?
I think that's going to be the name of the podcast, isn't it?
And the rest is history.
In stereo.
It's good,
Surround sound.
Marvellous. Okay, so James and I have both been on your first aid course. Which one did we go on? Just remind me.
That was the
One day
emergency first aid at work.
Qualification.
That's it.
It's in stereo as well.
I
We're
know.
getting good at this.
You
Wow.
are.
Yeah, because we realised, didn't we, that I'd certainly not done any since 2008, 2009. So it's probably due a refresher.
Yeah, and I did sort of baby first aid when my little one was born through Sure Start, which don't think exists anymore. So a rather lovely chap from the fire brigade came and talked to us mums about what to do, when bad things happen with your children. So yeah, didn't give me the whats. Pretty much went from a really laid back parent to a little bit less laid back and terrified that everything was going to go wrong, which was interesting. So he put the fear of God into us rather than actually gave us confidence to know how to deal with it, which was an interesting way of doing it, actually.
Not effective.
No.
But Ian wasn't intimidating and didn't put the fear of God in us, did he?
No, it was a really good day, actually. Learnt lots, good practical, trying stuff out. James made a really good victim.
Casualty.
I like how you call him victim, not casualty.
Victim.
Just lying down on the floor seemed to be...
You can have a
He's
little
a
snooze.
natural at it. Natural.
He made a very good victim. But no, it was very different to what I'd experienced in the past as well. So
I like the mix of the sort of initial theory, watch it being performed, and then have a go yourself. I think actually the coolest bit, so the dummies that we all know and love, like since I've done it, they've gone all like high tech.
yes, it did.
So it's like he's just sort of playing with his iPad, and I'm like, is he playing Candy Crush or is it? And then he showed me, and it's like all the dummies are showing readings of how much air have gone in. Is the compression deep enough? That kind of thing. I'm like, wow, that's really
have
cool.
Little competitions with each other.
That's
Really?
Little
very
friendly
cool.
competitions around the room. See who's got the best CPR.
Oh, excellent. And ever since we've been on it, James has been spotting defibrillators everywhere across the world.
Taking
actually.
pictures.
Which is, I'm generally oblivious to most things, but yeah, James is really good at spotting these. So as long as I hang around with him, everything will be fine.
Well, that's one of the things we're really passionate about is people being aware of where defibrillators are and how to use them as well. So a few people have spotted us on social media doing some videos about key defibrillators in Newcastle city centre, and it's just about getting the word out there. Just, it's great if you've got some training on how to use them, but actually anyone can use them. They talk you through what you need to do.
I found that really surprising, actually, because the thought before, because obviously casualty was pretty much my only real reference point.
It's the same for most people.
And I haven't watched Casualty since I was probably 20, so it was a while ago, shall we say. And the thought of, me having to shout, clear, and don't have to do that. It's brilliant. It pretty much does it all for you. You just stick the pads on where it tells you to stick them on. And so my confidence has really improved because of just that simple having a go, even though I did try to put the baby defibrillator pads on the adults, half a person, so yeah, it's fine.
Well, that's what it's about, isn't it? That's the whole point of training. You go on it, you make as many mistakes as you want, and there aren't any consequences. It's fine. But from that, you learn how you should be doing it.
Yeah, and now I know, these are baby pads, these are big pads.
Exactly. And you can keep other people right. Yeah. You can school them when they're getting it wrong.
No, definitely. But yeah, so much more confident, I think, now.
And it's just that knowledge as well, to say that you often think another reason for doing it, isn't it, is that if you do witness something in the street, someone collapses, someone's choking in a restaurant, I don't know if I could live with myself if I'd sat somewhere and thought I could have helped them if I'd had a bit of training. I think that's kind of whether you call that survivor's guilt or what, I don't know, but to know that some simple training actually... I watched a video of, I think was it someone in Greece choking on whatever they were eating, and all the sort of other people in the restaurant are just watching, what is this guy doing? And it's not until one of the waiters comes across and gives him his abdominal thrusts and he's all right. But he was a minute and a half in of not breathing. And that it still gives me the shivers thinking about this video. But just that kind of simple things that you've learned can save someone's life. I think that's really powerful.
It is, and it's almost kind of a little bit ridiculous that not that many people in the UK actually know first aid. I mean, across Europe and other sort of developed nations, we're really lagging behind how many people actually know first aid. And one of the reasons I think that is because in the UK, first aid's something that the boss makes you do. It's not something that you wake up one day and think, you know what, if my child, if my brother, if my sister, if my friend, if my partner starts choking, I want to be able to help them. That seems to be something that just doesn't seem to occur to a lot of people. But once you've been on a course, you just kind of, that almost opens your eyes and makes you think, well, actually, I've been kind of leaving myself open a little bit here. And hopefully if people actually enjoy our training, which they certainly seem to, if we can make a few more people a bit more confident and they can go and tell other people about us, then hopefully we will have a lot more people, in our communities, in our workplaces, in our schools, wherever, that actually can make that difference.
I think a lot of people do have the thought of, what would I do if something happened in front of me? But fear almost stops them from getting trained, even though that's strange in itself, because the training could actually help and take away the fear of such a situation happening. But it does seem to be a bit of a blocker, unfortunately. But
I always think it's interesting that quite often people say that they don't want to learn first aid because they don't want to be the one that has to do something. But when you look at the number of people who don't know first aid in the UK, actually it's very unlikely that someone else is going to know. So your options are either to stand there with your hands in your pockets, not knowing what to do, or having at least some idea and having a go. Now, for me personally, I think I'd much rather be in the position to actually have some skills, some confidence, and then if I want to, I can get involved, because not knowing how to deal with that situation, not knowing what to do, is not going to stop that situation from ever occurring. It just depends on whether you want to be stood there helpless or not.
Yeah.
And that's what always gets me.
And we speak to a lot of people as well who have had some training before, but they say, I don't know what I would do. They didn't necessarily find the training that effective. But, you know, a lot of people who come through our courses do say that it's different, and it gives them the confidence to get involved, because it really empowers them. They've gone through like a kind of building block process throughout the day to become resourceful, so that, you know, they can be faced with a situation and think, what am I trying to achieve here, rather than, oh my goodness, that didn't happen in the training environment, now I'm stumped, now I don't know what to do. So we're all about nurturing people so that they can think on their feet, and therefore it's less scary if you are actually faced with a situation.
Yeah. And it's thinking through a process, isn't it? Because you've learned in this, right, A, B, C, D, E.
Nice.
It's a test now, James.
It becomes I'm thinking, I'm sort of gauging the reaction. Am I still going? Yeah, okay, we're good.
F-G-H-I.
We'll keep going through the alphabet. We've got to Z.
Ice cream. Zebras.
But what you said about building on through the day, that it becomes, it's trying to build a habit, I suppose, isn't it? I know you've got the useful crib cards. So it's like, right, okay, I'm checking for danger so that I'm safe as well, etc. And what's the process I'm going through? And I think when you look at it like that, rather than, holy crap, I've got someone who's literally dead in front of me and I don't know what to do, it becomes this, oh yeah, I've practiced this. I remember Ian talks about putting his gloves on and am I safe? Shouting for help, get someone to phone an ambulance, jazz hands with his gloves on. And it stays with you. And then
even the awkward bit of kind of talking to the unconscious person as well, because you're like, you might just stay silent and they might be able to hear you, and they might just be asleep and you're trying to do CPR on them. So it takes you through a process. It was really useful.
Yeah, it's not just listening to someone tell some stories about this is what happened once upon a time, or you know, going through the motions, like having a go at the skills once just to get a tick in the box. It's so much more than that.
And we loved the coloured coordinated high-vis jackets as well on the dummies. That was, you know, properly class.
Oh, they're going to be stylish and effective.
I think James took a photo and tweeted it.
I do. We'll have to share that one again. Yeah.
So we have booked Sophie, our apprentice, on first aid training as well, because she might be in a situation, because we do a lot of events, and as the events organisers, it's quite crucial. People will look to us if something happens in the room, and if we don't know what we're doing, then that can be quite scary. So we've got Sophie to do that as well, just in case, you know, we happen not to be in the room. But I think, I know we answered this question when we were doing the training, but I know a lot of people are a bit scared of intervening in first aid just in case they get sued for cracking a rib or doing it wrong. And your answer to that was really cool, actually. And so do you want to talk to us about what your advice would be in that situation?
Well, the Resuscitation Council UK quite clearly states that there's been a number of cases where people may have tried to bring an action against somebody who's tried to help them in an emergency situation, but there's never been one successful prosecution, there's never been one successful case of any description where somebody has tried to help somebody in an emergency situation. So all you can take from that is, okay, so if you try and help somebody, good for you. You might get the odd person that might try and sue you for something, but actually there's never been a successful case. So that tells you that you're very well protected. You just need to crack on, no pun intended, have a go, do the best you can, and yeah, but you're pretty well protected. Go for it.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Yep. So we get to ask this question twice, don't we, Michelle?
Yep.
About taking everyone back in time, which is like the song Huey Lewis and the News, isn't it? It's one of the lyrics.
I don't even know that song.
We'll share the link. We'll share the link.
Come on, sing it.
It's in the movie. I'll share a link. So Helena, I was going to say Helena because the first person I met was Swedish that was called Helena. So I keep saying to Michelle, "Is Helena written back to you?"
Who the hell's that?
So we take
I
you
might
back.
be half Estonian, but no, it's Helena.
So we take you back in time. So it's kind of university starting age. What advice do you think you'd give to yourself before you started your psychology degree?
Do you know, I've never been a massive stress head in my life, but as an 18-year-old self, I was more stressy than I am now. So I would just say to myself, like, just chill out, just go with the flow, like have some ideas, create some plans, but just crack on, just see what happens and have a lot of fun along the way, because like we've alluded to and chatted already, like I'm such a firm believer in life is for living and not just kind of worrying and holding yourself away, studying, working. Just live, travel, explore, see, eat, drink, be merry, and so on.
I love that. So we're going to turn the tables over to Ian. So if you could go back into your pre-law self, what advice would you give to you?
It's a good question.
Thank you.
Part of me might think, well, you're probably not going to need a law degree, so you could probably save quite a few pounds not doing that. But actually, in retrospect now, I would still actually do it, and I don't think there's a lot that I would change. I think I'd echo certainly what Helena said there, in that, just give things a go. I think I kind of feel that when I talk to other people, sometimes a lot of people seem to just hold back from trying things, like as if they're so afraid to make a mistake. And what can you do in life? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's some things, but what can you do in life that's gonna, that's totally irreversible with the business? If it fails tomorrow, which I'm really hoping it's not going to, but if it does, you go back to work, you go and get a job, you try something else, just keep moving forward. Look back, but keep moving forward.
That's great.
And Ian, if you order chunky chips one day but really regret it, it's fine, because you can order French fries the next.
That happened last week. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Really?
I ordered chunky fries because I was under pressure to order from the menu really quickly. I had the best steak, in fact, I've ever had in my life.
Where was this?
It was in Hebden Bridge in Yorkshire. It was absolutely amazing. But under pressure, actually, I didn't realise I got a side, and the gentleman was saying, "So what side are you having?" And under pressure, I went, kind of found the chips and went, chunky chips. And then the person beside me, they ordered skin on fries. And when they arrived, that man's chips were so much better than mine.
It's one of life's failures, but it's fine. You live another day, and you can order the skinny fries.
But I won't make that mistake again.
No,
ever.
Don't be rushed to choose sides. That could be something you could tell your 18-year-old self then.
Yes,
Make
certainly.
sure you
Always go for skin on fries.
spend some time perusing a menu.
Yeah. Don't feel under pressure to do things.
Okay, so if somebody likes the sound of your training, or you both, and would like to get in touch, what's the best way for them to do so?
So best way to get in touch is via the website and also on LinkedIn. We're both on there. We're both active, and we've also got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, it's been an experience. Our first podcast with two guests. It's kind of a bit weird, isn't it, Michelle?
A little bit.
So it's been a learning curve for us. So
yeah,
thank you for getting us out of our comfort zone. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Stereo. Love it. Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode, when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway and tell everybody.